bazıları trafiğe takıldı ama biz hoş geldiniz diye başlayalım. Kadın Eserleri Kütüphanesi'ni belki tanımayanlar vardır aramızda. Kütüphaneye hoş geldiniz. Burada sizler için bir küçük sergimiz var. Buradaki gördüğünüz kadınlar, kadın yazarlar, yazan kadınlar, aralarında gazeteciler, yazarlar ama hepsinin ortak yanı aramızda olmayışları artık. Onları burada almak istedik, seslerini buradan duyalım istedik. Onlar da bizi duysun istedik. Dolayısıyla burada 25 kadından oluşan küçük bir seçkimiz var. Bugün ilk oturuma Ayşe Düzkan, Jessica Schiefauer ile söyleşerek başlıyor. Çok hoş bir şekilde bugün kitap yetişti. Türkçe'ye ilk defa.
Bu kitap üzerine, bu kitap baz alınarak yapılmış bir film var. Biz kitabı telifini almaya, kitabı yayınlamaya o filmi izledikten sonra karar verdik ve okay. Çok ama şey oluyor, mikrofona yapacağım.
Yok, mikrofonu
biliyorum ama çok eko oluyor. Onun için uzaktan konuşuyorum. Tamam, peki. Jessica da oradaydı. Filmi izledik, rakı içtik, arkadaş olduk ve kitabın telifini aldık. İsveççe bilmiyordum. Kitabı redaksiyonu yaparken okudum ve düşündüğümden çok daha güzel bir kitap olduğunu, beklediğimden de çok daha güzel bir kitap olduğunu gördüm. 3 gün önce çıktı, şimdi dağıtımda. Birkaç soru soracağım önce Jessica'ya. Demin size anlattıklarımı ona anlattım. I'm flattering you the way things I told you about it. Şimdi birkaç soru sormak istiyorum kitapla ilgili. Sonra o bir kitaptan bölüm İngilizce okuyacak. Ben de bulup kitaptan onu Türkçe okuyacağım. Tamam mı? Evet. Would you like to say something or shall I start with a question?
Start with a question.
Okay. I want to ask you about gaze. The term gaze, because you think it is very important in this book.
Like this? Oh my God, yes, hi. I've been told by readers, Swedish readers and readers from other countries, that they read this book about Kim very differently. People who identify as transsexuals find Kim a transsexual. People who identify as gay, girls and boys, identify with Kim as a gay person. And people like me who are heterosexual also identify with Kim as a person who feels that the gender role is very narrow. So I don't think of this book in terms of being, you know, either transsexual, gay, heterosexual. To me, it's a book about the body, and that the body sits outside the person. I was thinking, if your body was clothes, if you could get up in the morning and open your wardrobe and decide for a body. Today, I feel like an old man. I choose that body. Today, I feel like a young queer person. I put on that body. And sometimes I feel like that about myself. So writing about Kim was, you know, me investigating. I have a female body. I like my female body. But it also makes people look at me in a way that I don't always identify with. So changing the body changes the way people look at me and what people think I can do and cannot do. So to me, I'm very happy that so many different people identify with Kim. it's not about being either gay or trans or queer or hetero. It's about being a person in a body. Do you see what I mean? Yes. Mm?
And this book is also very much identified as queer literature. And I've read that you don't agree with that completely.
I don't object to it.
That's why I said.
Yes. And I could say I don't care, but of course I care. I think I mean, since I'm not a trans person myself, I cannot say I speak for the trans people. I cannot say I speak for the lesbians or the gays. I can only say I speak about being human. And to me, sexuality, I don't give a damn about people's sexuality, but I'm very interested in how we identify as sexual beings. So please read it as a queer book if it feels right to you. Please read it as a non-queer book if it feels right to you. That's how I think about it.
Being a teenage and that period in one's life is one part of life where you investigate and explore sexuality in the sense that all beings at all ages have sexuality, but at teenage you start you start thinking about sexuality with your partner,
right?
With this, and there's a lot of clues in this book about that. How do you feel about this?
Clues? Oh my! I feel about Kim that she is very unsure in her female sexuality, because the female young body is very much an object. She is objectified. She experiences sexism. She is a thing for the boys to do whatever with. She cannot be active. She's not allowed to be an active sexual being. But when she gets to try the boy's body, she feels it's possible for her to act out sexuality. And she does fall in love with another boy, or is very attracted to another boy. And he is very attracted to him, to the boy Kim. But he is very much afraid of that. He is terrified of his own homosexuality. So Kim tries out to be active and trying to get close to this boy, to Tony. He rejects that. He tries to meet him as a girl, and he resents that. He's disgusted because she's not, this perfect girl, with the makeup and the nails and the hair and the everything. But she also tries out being sexual as a boy with a girl. And I think she realizes that's not her thing. So, but I'm not sure, because that only happens once in the book. So I think the whole story, I wrote it thinking back about myself being 13, 14, 15. My sexuality awakened, and it was scary, and it was fantastic. And I remember I felt a lot of that. My role in this game is to be passive and to be an object. That's the best I can do. And I hated it, and I sort of was schooled into it. So to me, this book is also sort of a revenge from, all the things I couldn't do as a teenager. Is that an answer to your question?
Yes.
More or less, maybe, yes.
We have always thought of Sweden, and it is also like that, that as a country, legal-wise, at least legal-wise, it's very egalitarian, and gender equality is very strong. And then in the book, there are some themes, some parts that is at least surprising for me, because even the legal structure changed, even the states changed, and the relations are very. There's a lot of sexism among teenagers, actually. Would you like to talk about that?
I remember 2 years ago, I think, this book was published in Italy, in Italian. And I was in a book festival there, and we talked about exactly the same thing. The idea that Sweden, because that is true, Sweden has very progressive laws against sexism, and we have laws to make equality. And that's good, but there's a huge difference between laws and norms. And, and the norms in Sweden, there's still a lot of work to be done, a lot of work. I'm quite sure you've all heard about the Me Too campaign that's been running all over the world. And in Sweden, there's been a lot of testimonies about sexism from, you know, people who are 10, 11, and all the way up to people who are old. So it goes on, but under the surface. And I think, in Sweden, we sort of fool ourselves saying, we have laws against this. There's no problem. But the norms comes with how we raise our children, how we raise our boys, how we raise our girls. It's not something you can change by putting in laws. So all the sexism in this book is things I have either seen in schoolyards or experienced myself or have been told by friends my own age, by friends who are now 20 years old. So, I mean, it's all there. There's no utopia, you know, in Sweden just because we have the laws. So laws are good, but norms needs to be worked with.
Emancipating literature like this, and literature thinking about all this and trying to investigate what is going on is very much important in changing the norms, changing the social, what is social, because we can talk about political and legal and social, and the social doesn't change with demonstrations or lobbying or in the parliament. You have to do things. There's something else that has to be done. And do you feel that this book is, I felt that this book is very much making people think about all this. How do you feel about that? At least parents?
Yes, that's really what I wanted to do. I get a question much from teenagers. In Sweden and in other countries, they read it in school a lot because it's very good to discuss, you know. So I get a lot of mails and letters from teenagers who asks me, what's your statement with this book? And I always reply that I don't think literature should make statements. I think literature should ask the sharp questions and make you think, how would I do in that situation? How would I feel? Do I feel Kim is doing right? Because she's always also quite disloyal to her friends. But if she needs to be loyal to herself, she has to be disloyal to her friends. You know, all those questions, loyalty, sisterhood, sexuality, hänsyn. Vad heter det, Linnea? Hjälp. Vad heter det? I want to... Consideration, you know, that you have to... As a woman, I feel I am brought up in a lovely way, on the one hand, coming to the fact that I've been brought up to always consider other people's feelings. If I do this to you, how will you feel? You know? But there is also, it was forgotten that I should also be brought up in the, you know, on the term, if I do, how do I feel? So considering other people's feelings is very, very important. But I feel in raising women, that's the only way we raise them, you know. And And what was your question again? Sorry, I lost
Do
it.
you think no, it's okay, you're talking about it. Do you think that this book is part of thinking about all this thing that can change the norm?
I hope so, and I hope it changes norms because I don't make any statements. I don't say it's better to be a girl or it's better to be a boy. I don't say it's better to be considerate or not to be considerate, or at least I hope I don't say any of those things or try and make people have an opinion that is my opinion. But I know from teachers writing to me that they have never worked with a book in their classes that had made their students think so much for themselves. If the students feel safe to actually speak their mind, they say things and think about things that they've never thought about before. And that makes me so proud and so happy.
And I think that the language, the style is somewhere between magical realism and fairy tales and dreams. What you dream and maybe daydreaming, what you daydream and imagine, and a lot of imagining. So you don't need a statement. This is something else. Do you agree with that? With this, what I said about your style?
Of course, I'm very inspired by magic realists writers. I'm very inspired. I'm a huge fan of Angela Carter, British, now dead, alas, writer who was, in a good way, she had no respect for genres and for different styles. She just put everything in a pot and stirred around, and out came magic, very sharp analysis of mostly of womanhood, I would say. So I studied Angela Carter at the university, and I wrote my essays, all essays I wrote on her. And hopefully I haven't tried to copy her, but I was very inspired by, she was so brave. And there's also a lot of feministic science fiction that I'm reading now for my next book that I'm working on. And I have this idea that we need to put in a supernatural element to put our finger on the most realistic things we have in our lives, if you see what I mean, because it becomes so brightly lit. So these girls find a magic flower that can turn them into boys like this. I mean, that's not possible, doesn't happen. But the feelings they have, to me, feel very realistic about the body and the shape and, the everything. And I worked hard with the language. I wanted it to be floral. I wanted it to be poetic. I wanted it to be flowing. And I actually met one Swedish publisher before it was published in Sweden who hated the language. Because she thought it was, the language was all over the place. She felt she was drowned by my language. And I actually thought, good, that's the way I want you to feel, but that was not my publisher. And I felt I had reached my goal. I want this language to be like a cascade that comes at you. So if you feel that way, I'm happy.
Yes. And before maybe you go reading, I have to say that you are very brave too. You are very brave, yes.
Thank you. I try to be.
And Ali Arda translated this book, and he really did a very good job. It's a very good translation. I speak no Swedish, and I don't think I will be speaking after this, but you can feel the literature, you can feel the dream, and I think it's a very strong translation. Maybe you go on, you start reading now, we read, and maybe you would like to ask things afterwards, okay?
I answer anything. I answer all questions, okay? Anything. Do you want me to read in Swedish or in English?
Probably in English. What
In
would you like to?
English.
Because probably nobody speaks Swedish. Aynı bölüm ben de şey yapayım diyorum. Türkçe okuyayım. I read the same. Then they want to. They prefer it in Swedish.
Okay, but then there's another part.
So which part is it?
Then
I
there's
have to
this
find it.
part. Yeah.
What is it?
Hang on.
Oğlanlar.
Okay, so this is the part where they go to Tony for the second or the third time, and Bella decides she doesn't want to be there anymore, you know?
I'm searching for it.
Good. Should I start?
How we are going to find it. That's the problem.
Ama I did the editing, so yani kitabı çok iyi tanıyorum tabii.
It doesn't have to be the same.
The last part of the chapter is, it was a crooked smile, but I know what it meant. I belong to him. My life had nothing to do with me anymore. So I start in Swedish and you go on searching?
Yes, they
Okay. Okay. Hang on. Here we go. My phone is broken, so there are splits, so I try to see through it, okay? Gång på gång lekte vi den nya leken. Sömnbristen smög sig på, en tunn slöja framför ögonen som fick världen att bölja lätt. Jag njöt av det. Jag ville förlänga varje minut, varje sekund av den här vidunderliga nya verkligheten. Jag var den första som smet ut i växthuset om kvällen och den som bad att vi skulle fortsätta en liten stund till när natten började övergå i gryning. Det var jag som styrde stegen mot parken. Det var jag som svepte med blicken över gräsmattorna på jakt efter Tonys trubbiga silhuett i hopp om att han skulle ta oss med igen. Ja, detta var min älsklingslek. Men det dröjde inte länge innan jag blev ensam om den. Bella tröttnade först. Motvilligt lät hon oss övertala henne att följa med ut till industriområdet. Hon sa inte många ord när vi var där, och en kväll stannade hon tvärt när vi närmade oss Tonys högkvarter. Jag vill inte mer, sa hon. De är idioter. Jag vill inte ha med dem att göra. Momo såg vilsen ut, tittade från mig till Bella och tillbaka till mig. Hon tyckte om äventyren i Tonys värld. För henne var pojknätterna en enda stor upplyst teaterscen. Hon njöt av att spela sin roll. Hon slipade den tills hon kunde den perfekt. Och när morgonen kom kröp hon ner i sin flicksäng med en lycklig suck, uppfylld av upplevelserna, men nöjd med att vara hemma igen. Ja, för Momo var det en lek. Något hon kunde välja eller välja bort. Och hon följde med mig ytterligare några gånger. Men en natt när höken började plocka med cigarettpappren så reste hon sig. Jag skiter i det här nu, sa hon. Och hennes blick på mig sa att hon tyckte att jag borde göra detsamma. Jag såg upp på henne och kände Tonys skugga i ryggen. Jag stannar en stund, sa jag. Någon timme bara, så kommer jag efter sen. Momo nickade kort. Vi visste båda att jag ljög. Så gick hon och jag stannade kvar. Vi pratade aldrig om det, men vi visste alla tre att det var så det skulle bli nu. Momo och Bella hade valt att gå och jag hade valt att stanna. Och när blydörren föll igen efter Momo log Tony. Ett krokigt leende var det, men jag såg ju vad det betydde. Att jag var hans nu. Mitt gamla liv hade inte med mig att göra längre. End of chapter. I wish I could tell you what's before and what's after, but I'm not sure about that.
Okay. yok onda. Onda İngilizcesi yok.
You could just read anything actually that you like. Because no one's going to recognize the Swedish and the Turkish anyway.
Bahçeden dilimiz tutulmuş gibi geçip It won't be translated. Bahçeden dilimiz tutulmuş gibi geçip Bella'nın yatak odasına girdik. Gardırobun aynalı kapılarının önünde durup elbiselerimizi çıkartmaya başladık. Çıkarttığımız giysileri yavaşça yere bıraktık. Ağır çekimdeymişiz gibi soyunduk giysilerimizden. Bazen aynaya, bazen kendi bedenimize bakarak. Neredeyse nefes almıyorduk. Yalnızca aynadan yansıyan bakışlarımızla konuşuyor, soruyorduk. Bu gerçek mi? Gördüğümüz şey gerçekten oldu mu? Yoksa uyanacak, kusmaya başlayacak ve her şeyi düş gibi diye mi hatırlayacağız? Sıra evlerden birinde gardırop aynaları duman renkli yatak odasında üçümüz birden dikiliyorduk, çıplaktık. Göğüslerimiz yok olmuş, kalçalarımızın yuvarlak hatları düzleşmişti. Omuz ve kollarımızın deri altından görünen tendon ve kaslar farklıydı. Boynumuz, ensemiz daha genişti. Boğazımızın tam ortasında olgun bir erik büyüklüğünde Adem elması vardı. Yutkundum, gırtlağımda varlığını hissettim. Bir sal gibi yükselip alçaldı. Karınlarımız içine göçmüştü, deri altı yağları kaybolmuştu ve bacaklarımızın arasında artık bir yarık yoktu. Kıllar duruyordu, seyrekti, yanlış yöne yatırıldığında acıtacak kadar hassastı. Ve bu o küçük çalının altında, kasıkların arasında bir penis vardı. Başı yumuşak bir deriyle kaplıydı. Altında, içinde 2 avaltaş olan kırışık bir torba vardı. Ağzını ilk Momo açtı. Sesi her zamankinden iri, son hecesi çatlaktı. Aman Tanrım bu ne ya? Eline aldı, kan harekete geçti. Torbanın nasıl toparlandığını gördüm. Momo'nun gözleri açıldı. Bu şey gibi ya, şey. Kendiminkini avucuma aldım. Karnımda hafif bir karıncalanma oldu. Kuş yavrusu gibi. Konuşurken sanki kıl yutmuşum gibi boğazım gıcıklanıyordu. Yeni hayatımız ellerimizde dikiliyorduk. Yeni bedenlerimize baktık. Yeni uzuvlarımızı gerdik, gevşettik. Kanımızda yeni bir şey hissettik. Erkek bedenimizde göz gezdirdik. Ellerimizi uzatıp aynada dokunduk. Gözlerimizde bir ışık yandı. Camdan bize doğru bir ışık çaktı.
What part was that?
It was the part where they first see themselves.
In the mirror.
Yes.
Wow.
In the...
That was brave.
But I like that part.
I do too.
Yes. Now questions.
Can you say the title of the book in Swedish? I'm just curious.
Pojkarna.
Very good. Exactly. Pojkarna. The pojkarna means the boys. And this means
Boys.
the boys.
Yes.
Right. Right.
Boys. Okay. Would you like to ask some things? Anything? To her? To Jessica?
Is this the first book or?
It's first book in Turkish.
It's first in Turkish, yes. It's my second novel. I got a big prize for it in Sweden.
August Prize.
August Prize, it's called. And after that, I've written one more novel, and then I will publish one next year again. So
So the prize was for this or for your first novel?
I had the August Prize for this book, and for the book after that too.
Oh, congratulations.
So
Jessica,
yeah.
it's me.
Hey, tjena Susie. Hey.
I also know that they made, did you mention this? Maybe I didn't pay attention. They also made a film
Yes.
of the book Ålandar. Were you involved in the making of the film as well?
Yes, they made a film. The international title is Girls Lost. You can find parts of it on YouTube, and you can find the whole movie from streaming services, I hope, in some way. I wasn't that much involved, but I became a great friend, actually, of the person who wrote the script and who regissör, and who directed it. I think it was fantastic to see how the persons that I had been imagining, she loved them so much, she wanted to put them on screen. So it was actually, I felt making this film, it was scary. I was afraid that they would destroy my book or misunderstand it and so on. And the movie actually has taken away a part of the book, because this book is told by Kim a few years after the summer when they find this flower and can be turned into boys. And then the girls split up and Kim runs away. And Kim tells the story in a retrospect. But the film is only about the girls when they are 13, 14 years old during the summer. So at first I was a little upset. I didn't understand why they took away, half of my book. But I realized that if they would have kept those two narrations, so to speak, it was the older Kim telling her story and the younger Kim telling her story. The movie would have been too much. I realized that. And in the end, when I saw the movie, I felt it was sort of a love story between me and the director and the characters in a book. And it was an amazing experience. And it has been shown in cinemas all over the world. And it's actually become a cult movie among queer people already. And I'm so darn proud of that. And the director, Alexandra Kining is her name, Swedish director. She should also be so proud of this. And sorry?
Girls Lost?
Girls Lost, yes. And after the movie was made, I got a lot of emails from young transsexual people who told me that they read my book a few years earlier, and that actually made them decide not to kill themselves, but rather come out as transsexuals. And when they saw the movie, they decided to write to me and tell me they had felt this. And what do you say to such a thing? It's actually made a real difference on life and death in some occasions, this book. Mm-hmm. Yes?
Did you also come across any controversy about this?
Yes, of course. There's a fantastic review by a reader on a Swedish book site where you buy books in Sweden. And this person hates this book so much. It's actually the worst thing she's ever read. She hates it so much. I mean, it's almost amusing how much she hates this book and the themes. And I think people, when they start reading it, they get scared. They get scared. And they reject everything this book is about. Yes, sort of. But it seems to grow on people, if you know what I mean. It's like they read it and they are a bit shocked. My God, what was that? And then after a while, they keep thinking about it. And then they start talking about it to each other, and there's a conversation going on. All the reviews in the newspapers, they have always been good. But I look at blogs sometime, book blogs, and this is a book that you either hate or love, I have realized, so.
I was also just curious, that's why I asked that question. They have this does echo, actually.
Strange, isn't it?
Because you must have heard that in Turkey there's a lot of pressure on the LGBT situation.
I know.
I just wondered how it is in a country like Sweden. I mean, that's why also, because you mentioned that you don't have any sort of transgender issues of yourself. You're just a writer.
Yes, yes.
I just wondered what the response was of the opposition, basically.
There were some teachers who did not want to use the book because in school because they thought it would be too provocative, so they decided not to read it. There are, actually I've had interesting mail conversation with young boys who read this book and felt very accused. You know, there are guys doing this, but I don't do it myself. But that's been great conversations, but because I've been able to say that although everybody doesn't act sexist, you know sexism exists. You have seen it, you have heard of it. You know someone who's been doing these wrong things, you know. And there's actually been, all the times I had a chance to meet the people who were provoked, it's been a good discussion, you know, a good conversation. And of course there are lots of people out there who hate my book and don't tell me. I have no idea what they think about it, but, well, you know, that's the life of a writer.
Yes.
Too.
It's also important, I think, the controversial thoughts to come out, as well as the transgender situation coming out,
Of course.
trans people coming out. It's also important that suppression coming out as well, I guess.
Was first published? When?
2011,
11.
so 7 years ago.
And when the film made?
2016, it had the first premiere, I think, yes.
Okay.
Can I just say one for you, Ayşe? So, publishing this book, because you're the publisher of the book, what do you think? What do you think do you expect that there will be any good reviews? Any? I guess.
I think we just did one small tactic. On the book, you know where you see this is written for young adults. But we never write young adults or children anywhere on a book, because in other books also, I mean, I am not a young adult. I hope I am an adult. And again, I have enjoyed this book very much. And we have published more of me, another book from Britain, and I enjoy it, and it's written for young adults. And even on it, it doesn't say young adults.
I think that's good.
And if we said young adults for this book, in this situation, we would have somebody said there's crimes in this, and you don't want to, because people want to think that if you are young and not still an adult, you don't know about crime and you don't know about drugs, and you don't know about anything, sexuality, which is not true. At teenage, you start thinking about this, and it's a brilliant time you think all about this, and these are all part of life. But I don't know anything about, I can't guess what will happen about the readers' reactions, because we had another book on, it's also a narrative on transsexuality about, it's also a writer from Scandinavian countries, from Holland, Maxim February. He wrote his trans experience, and it was published during a time where everywhere was people discussed about trans men, and it didn't solve very much. So I can't guess. I mean, it wasn't like, oh, this is the book of. So you can't know about it. But I find this book very inspiring. And when I would like my daughter to read this when she was a young adult. She's now adult, and let's see. But now there are no, because it's just published, and it's I have sent the books to the press today, actually, so let's see what happens. They'll be there tomorrow, so let's see what happens. But, and there are some people who want to interview her. Let's see what happens.
My question is to you, Ayşe, mainly. When you were reading the Turkish text, when the girls are changing their body, or their body is being changed, their chest disappears. why is the chest, not the breast? Because I don't know, so also I'm asking Jessica what the word she's used, because in Turkish, meme is a better translation for breast. So is it the translator's choice, your choice, or why?
Not mine, maybe the translators, but I feel that the chest does not only consist of breasts, tits. It is something else, and I feel that a woman's chest is different than a man's chest, but it's not only, I mean, you find that this is not something, it's not something about tits only, about memes only, as we say in Turkish. You know what I mean? So but this is not my choice, this is Ali Arda's or her choice.
Well, the interesting thing is, in Swedish, the word for chest and for breasts is the same word. So I don't know what the translation
So
thought.
in the book, were you using breast or nipples or chest?
I love this conversation.
No, okay, because Ayşe mentioned, that's why.
Three different things.
But actually, in my text, I mean that the breasts.
Breast, that's what I understood.
I don't know. I don't understand the Turkish
No,
version, so I don't know what
he made
happened there.
chest.
Okay, I've got an issue about it, and it's going to be one of the topic in our talk later on. So that's why I wanted to ask. Thank you.
Do we have time?
Yeah.
Any
For
one
another few questions,
Yes.
maybe? Başka soru yoksa çayımız hazır. İsterseniz çaya geçebiliriz. Arada sorarsınız ama herkesin de duymasını isterim.
She says, if you don't want any questions, we can have tea. But if you want to chat, and if you have, shh, so this one.
Do you consider yourself as a young adult writer?
No. I have written 3 novels so far, and they are all about characters who are young and who grow up and develop. And that's what I'm interested in. I've never written a book especially for young people to read it. I write my books for myself. I want to understand what growing up is. And I believe that we tend to say to young people that growing up, being a teenager, that's just a short period of life. And then you should become someone completely different. And especially to women we say that, because the male upbringing is like, a tree that grows from within and then you become a man. But the female upbringing is like, during your teenage years, you're going to be flimsy, you're going to do that, and then all of a sudden you're going to be all different and you're going to be a mother. And that's a very strange way to see how we grow up, because when you grow up, when you are young, I believe you are the most yourself you will ever be. And then you become an adult and you get experience and you learn things about life, but still this young person living inside your chest is a big part of you, of your passions, of your dreams, of your fears. It's all in there. So I believe that writing about being young and reading about being young is something that adults should do just as much as young people should do. And I never changed the language to make it easier. I never changed the themes so that people shouldn't be offended. And Sweden is progressive. So in Sweden, my books can be published for young people, and there's no problem. But abroad, in Italy, for example, there was a long discussion whether this book, The Boys, should be published for young adults or for adults, as to say for everybody. I've never sat down to write a book for young people. I don't even know what that is, a book for young people. There are young adult books that I love. I feel they talk to me, especially. And there are other books for adults that I don't understand at all. So it's difficult to me to say there are special books for young people and special books for not young people, whoever that is. So that's how I see it.
I want to say something about that. Is that possible? Some of you also, I am from the generation where there was nothing called, except Jules Verne maybe, books, literature for young adults. There was nothing like that. There was no genre like that. And I remember reading Dostoevsky and Maxim Gorky and some Karl Marx, which is not even literature, when I was a young adult. And I think it was okay. And I read some of them afterwards, years after, and it's a different feeling. But I remember enjoying it, really enjoying War and Peace and from Tolstoy, and it was okay. I think it is a time where you feel you are emotionally more, maybe more mixed up and more aroused, high. But it doesn't matter. You're still clever, and you're still. It's a part of time, especially for girls. I think it's a part of life where you read a lot. You read like hell, and because then sexuality and work and other things, education come into your life, and you read less. I remember being in teenage years, as a time where I read more than ever. So I think it's okay.
What prompted you to write this book? Is it your first book? It's the second book. Maybe you mentioned in the passing, but it's a different kind of book. So what was the burning question or a desire to explain something or to help somebody? What made you really write the book?
There were so many things. I get that question a lot, and I realize I answer different things every time. But one thing was that I started writing this book when I was about 27, 28 years old. And then I was old enough to look back at myself as being about 14 and being able to think, what a terrible time. So I was angry at the way I was treated as a teenager. And I wanted to sort of give the young me kind of, I don't want to say revenge, but a second chance, sort of. And when I was between 20 and 30, and still I have many friends who are transsexual, and I respect that fight so much. I am this person. My body is not me. I have a right to be me, And it's such a fight, and it's there is a self-respect in that I admire a lot. And I had so many nights with cheers and discussions with these friends of mine. And I'm not transsexual myself, but I really wanted to understand how they saw themselves and their position in the world. So I started to write about it. That's the way I come to terms with things, I write it down and I see it more clearly. And then on the other hand, I was very interested in the mystique of flowers. And I met this fantastic old woman up north in Sweden who had a greenhouse where she could grow anything, although it was too cold up there. Nothing could grow there, but her things could grow there. And so I was so inspired by her. So it was so many things put in a pot. And I just stirred around, and out came this, sort of. And I wanted to give these three girls, Kim, Bella, and Momo. I remember so clearly while I wrote, I thought I want to give them a door out of their everyday reality. I want to give them a door out of something magic, something impossible. First I wanted to write a book about three superheroes. I wanted Kim, Bella, and Momo to be three superhero girls who had superhero powers and superhero costumes. But I didn't quite know what to do with that idea. So I set it aside. And there's one thing left in the book from the superhero idea, and that's their masquerade costumes, because they have masquerades where they dress up as impossible creatures. So that's the best answer I can give you. There was so much in my head that I needed to try and see clearly, and then I write. That's the way I live my life. I write about it, sort of.
Thank you. Thank you.